Hello, hi everyone. A very good evening. My name is Sanjay, physics faculty at physicswallah vidhyapeeth. Today I am here with another very interesting topic, that how to read NCERT in the most effective way. I believe every NEET aspirant is certainly looking forward to listen to get more and more information about this topic, because on day to day life, whatever concept learning, whatever error analysis, whatever revision pattern you people are following, that is one part. But I believe that every child, every student is very much curious to know that, sir, we are reading NCRT, but at the end of day, when it comes to the final output, when it comes to the productivity, when it comes to the final score, which you are expecting after reading that book, that is somewhere getting compromised. So I'm here again with some lot of information and with some basic insights, and that will certainly help you to make your journey more effective, more fruitful. So without any delay, let's get deeper into this discussion. So when we talk about NCRT, so first of all, many students are sitting with this doubt that, sir, should we give the preference only to bio, then chemistry, and then if it is required for physics, or should we give equal preference all the subjects? So first of all, let me address this question. What happens when we are a part of a competitive examination journey? It is very basic that we are being trained in a way where you expect there is a question and there are four options. The moment you see the question, you are trying to recall all the possible values, all the possible data. You are trying to convert that question into the diagram, and you are pulling all the sort of information which can help you to get the answer, right? And then eventually you are landing to the final option. And I believe that has to be the right strategy. But in this entire process, whatever data you are trying to recall, whatever formulas you are trying to recall, whatever graphs you are trying to draw, which will eventually help you to solve this question, how did you get that entire information? Reason being, whenever we are preparing for any competitive examination, we are not left a good reader. Why? Because we are being a part of a journey where we give less preference to the theory part, rather, our focus remains on most of the times on the numerical aspect. And when this journey keeps repeating on a daily basis, you are not left a good reader. I believe all of you will acknowledge that how many of you are giving exclusive time for the reading in your day-to-day life. The time window could be very, very less. Some cases, it could be zero as well. But do you think it is the right strategy? The answer is no. At the same time, you have to frame yourself, design your pattern in a way that you are equally a good reader. So when it comes that for which subject you have to give the preference, the answer is for all the subjects: physics, chemistry, zoology, botany. Again, I am telling you, I am talking about the most beautiful designed book, NCRT. And to decode this book, you cannot have a formal, process that, okay, sir, there is a book and you know, we have started reading it. That is nowhere going to help you to decode that beautifully designed book. So the way, the process also has to be equally beautiful. And that is what I'm going to discuss today. Yes? So what I'm trying to say is that when it comes that for which subject you have to read NCRT, the answer is for all the subject. But here, the answer has to be more specific. The way you are reading NCRT for zoology, botany, you cannot follow the same way for the physics and also for chemistry. Yes, for physics, the purpose of reading NCRT is nowhere to collect the data, nowhere to memorize the facts. It is also equally important that you are trying to understand the whole process of that particular concept. Let me name some of the chapter. For example, there is a chapter called kinetic theory of gases. There is a chapter called waves. There is a chapter called semiconductor and electronic devices. There are certain chapters in physics which carry no emotions. Yes, whenever I take the name of the chapter waves, I believe all of you are on the backstage in terms of realizing the chapter, in terms of getting the emotions in that chapter. Rather, if I will take the name of the chapter like current electricity, electric potential and capacitance, force, work, you have that realizing factor that, okay, this is how it looks like. But when it comes to waves, when it comes to semiconductor and devices, I believe the factor of emotions, the factor of realization is very narrow. And that is where you feel, if I'm unable to realize, if I'm unable to visualize that concept, how somebody expect me to solve the questions? But do you think, is that the right process? Again, answer is no. Because we need food. Doesn't matter the way it is going to digest. Yes, in most of the cases, we prefer this option. So what I'm saying, there are certain chapters where you will not get to know that feeling, that emotions. You will not feel that connect in that particular chapter. But at the same time, that chapter has a beautiful weightage in the NEET exam. You cannot skip that. But imagine if you are a good reader. If you are a good reader, you have a sufficient content, you have a sufficient formalization, you have sufficient information about that particular chapter, and you will be ending up by marking the right option. And I believe that is what you want. Doesn't matter what the process and what strategy you are missing out in that particular chapter. Doesn't make any sense. And believe you me, when you are writing the competitive examination like NEET, where one question can make you, one question can break you, it is equally important that you give preference to such kind of inputs. So what I am trying to say, that reading NCERT for all the 4 subjects is very, very important. Yes, the strategy for physics and chemistry may differ from the strategy of zoology and botany. So I hope this point is also clear to you, right? Let's move to the next point. What is the right sequence of reading NCERT? I have seen most of the students, what they do basically, for example, there is a lecture which is for tomorrow. Some students try to read that NCERT well before the lecture. I'll not suggest you to follow this pattern. Reason being, again, I'll get to the beauty of this particular book. This book is designed in a way where every term has multiple information. Every sentence leads to multiple information. So without listening to that particular chapter, without getting familiar with the keywords of that particular chapter, if you are trying to read it, I believe it will not be result into any productivity. It is equally important what has to be sequence. And what sequence I prefer, that first of all, you have to attend the class. Once your class is done, you are done with the class notes, then you should prefer to this particular book, that is NCERT. Clear? So once you are done with the class notes, you are very much familiar with the keywords, and then you can very well decode what is the meaning of that particular statement, of that particular word, of that particular paragraph. It is equally important what sequence you people have to follow to decode NCERT. Moving to the next point, how many times should we read NCERT? This is certainly a question which many of you are thinking at moment. This question keep hovering in your mind, that how many times we have listened to so many toppers. Everyone says, read NCERT, revise it so many times. But nobody tells you what is the exact way to read NCERT. And that is what I'm trying to cover in this particular topic, right? So when it comes to how many times we should read NCERT, so I believe if you are a good reader, you must be familiar with 2 terms. One is called skimming and second is called scanning, right? The people who are very good at reading, they knows about these 2 terms, skimming and scanning. So when it comes to read a particular book, it is equally important that what are you expecting from that particular page. So I believe once your class notes are done, you give a full-fledged reading to that particular page. Keep underlying that important aspect of that particular page. Once the fundamental reading of that particular page is done, then you should follow the skimming and scanning process. Skimming process means you are just having a look on the important aspect of that particular page. What are the key highlights? And when it comes to scanning, you are trying to figure out what is the important aspect of this page, right? So whatever number of times you are reading NCERT, every time you need to set the target that what I'm expecting. Am I trying to memorize this paragraph? Am I trying to decode the different purpose, different meaning of this paragraph? What are you expecting? That has to be very, very clear. So when it comes to number of times that you can, start from the 1, twice, thrice, you can take it up to 10 times as well. But reading NCERT doesn't mean you have opened the book and you are keep turning the page. That doesn't mean you are reading the NCERT, right? So there has to be a process. First time you are reading, you are keeping your class notes. At the same time, you are giving a full-fledged reading to that particular page. Second time, you are trying to get the highlights of that particular page. Third time, you are trying to get the most important bites from that particular page. So every time, what are you expecting from the reading part? You have to set that target, right? So number of times can be varying from student to student, but I would say as many as times you can do it, that will certainly add values, your preparation. Very, very important aspect. Whenever you are reading NCERT, right, there are beautiful paragraphs, there are certain statements. I have mentioned one very important point. Very, very attentive whenever you see any specific term like what? Thus, hence, therefore. So whenever you notice such terms, it means that paragraph is trying to give you a conclusive statement. That paragraph is giving a consolidation report, right? You have to be very, very attentive the moment you get to know such terms, right? Again, I am telling you, reading NCERT is one part, but in what effective way you are reading, that is equally important. So when it comes to the specific terminology like thus, hence, therefore, so, right? It means that paragraph is leading to a concluding factor and your attention should get 2x or 3x the moment you notice such terms. It means you have read the entire statement. Also, you could figure out that what is the crux, where is the crux of this particular statement. So hence, you should be very much informed that whenever any such terms get pop up in the NCERT textbook, your attention should get twice or thrice, right? So I believe that these are the certain inputs, these are the certain suggestions which will make your reading habit more skillful, more effective, and whatever NCERT number of times you are reading, every time you have to set a target that what I am expecting out of this all reading. So I believe this information will certainly give you much clarity, and I strongly believe that clarity is directly proportional to confidence. And once you have a clarity on that particular aspect, your confidence is something at the next stage. Nobody can beat you in that particular aspect. Yes or no? Right? So the purpose of all this entire discussion is to give you the clarity, to give you the effective way, how can you make your reading very, very effective. Thank you so very much for having a pleasant listening.